The Boys is a lot of things. Incredibly violent, incredibly vulgar, incredibly scathing politically. It can serve as a warning about the cult of personality in modern society. And basically it shows that superheroes, if they existed in real life, would essentially be a disaster in many ways. However, I think there's another angle that this show can be viewed through which provides even more perspective on how we in the real world treat and view the people we call heroes.
Your family and community. Please set an example to the youth in your community.
Now, the heroes in our world don't have laser vision, the power of flight, super speed, or deadly chest beams, but what they do have is the deep respect of a lot of people. We put these heroes on a pedestal, and sometimes criticism of them is met with harsh backlash, regardless of whether the criticisms are justified or not. The world of The Boys has superheroes layered on top of the pre-existing security apparatus of the United States. The status quo is maintained. It's just that supes are another machine in which to enforce the law and police society, which is why we can make so many comparisons between the supes of the show's world and the soldiers, police, and emergency responders of our world. Superheroes in The Boys are a respected class, plastered and praised all over TV. Put in commercials, movies, and PSAs across the nation. They are venerated like people above reprimand, not unlike how our media has traditionally utilized the security apparatus and the first responders of our many nations to give themselves a ratings boost, and to make those aforementioned groups look good. Both superheroes and real-life cops and first responders are often in the public eye, both in person and in the media. They make themselves present in our schools, our businesses, our screens, and our streets. And all of these jobs are extremely difficult and stressful. You risk your body and your mental health a lot by choosing to do these things for a living. So what happens when something goes wrong? Mayhem and disappointment. The entire plot of The Boys starts because of a gruesome incident involving Huey's girlfriend being accidentally killed by A-Train. Huey can't immediately take his story to the media because supes are beloved to such a degree that many people are likely to not believe him. And Vought, the company behind the most popular supes, has the money to control the media and make Huey's family keep it quiet and settle, which is exactly what they did. Things like this are why so many abuse victims, especially those abused by people in a position of power or authority, don't speak out immediately. We are talking about single individuals taking on a person with deep pockets and connections, and/or the security machine of a whole city, state, or even nation. That machine is firmly entrenched in our media and popular consciousness that even today, with all the hard work and struggle of activists, many people are inclined still to distrust victims and take the side of the police, army, or government when people accuse them of wrongdoing. A-Train himself feels the sting of this when he tries to hold Blue Hawk accountable for his abuse of black citizens. Vought pays him all the lip service in the world, but they won't fire Blue Hawk or allow charges to be pressed. In the case of A-Train and Blue Hawk, both these men are considered too valuable to be removed from the Vought lineup, despite the terrible things they did, and Vought was too afraid of a PR hit to release details of either incident. Just like how many cops who commit unjust killings are put on paid leave or temporary suspension, the consequences don't seem like they are enough for the heinous things they did. When celebrities bitch and moan about being cancelled, a lot of them end up right back on TV or whatever platform they use, making a good amount of money, within a few months to a year of their incidents, like The Deep, for example. And we are even manipulated sometimes into thinking they were the victims, much like how Blue Hawk and Homelander tried to play the cancel culture card when people tried to hold them accountable for their actions.
Following World War II, the permanent presence of women in the military is formally established with the Women's Medical Specialist Corps, the Army Nurse Corps, and the Women's Army Corps.
My favorite part of the job is definitely the people. There's a real sense of family, teamwork, and camaraderie. And Saanich Police is an organization that really...
Despite the incredible respect garnered by the community and the good living that they make off of their work, female superheroes and Vought employees in The Boys are routinely abused, disrespected, and put in compromising situations with little to no support from the company. And many of those same women simply let this happen because either they don't believe anything will be done about it, or they don't want to risk their money. Of course, those two factors are usually intertwined. Despite the great societal progress made in the real world, female soldiers, police officers, and first responders are still routinely abused, harassed, and taken advantage of by other compatriots and commanding figures within their organizations. Many cases go unreported or ignored. Queen Maeve and A-Train's identities are commonly exploited by Vought for PR gain, forced to be symbols of phony performative activism, despite Vought's support and endorsement of heroes such as the openly homophobic Ezekiel, racist power abuser Bluehawk, right-wing conspiracy theorist Gunpowder, and the literal Nazi Stormfront. Many police departments and army branches will say they are open to all and don't discriminate, but we should always keep in mind the legacy of such organizations letting in extremists into their ranks and turning a blind eye to discriminatory behavior by those under their employ. Hundreds of years of it, even into the modern day. Finally, there is a legacy of neglect and abandonment of the Supes themselves. These people, while problematic, live extremely difficult lives from childhood. They are often given up by their own parents to be experimented on by Vought, and if they don't die or become disabled from the unknown power they receive, they're forced to readjust their whole lives with ungodly powers, trying not to hurt themselves or others. They are constantly fed rhetoric about how they are special and are gifted despite their powers being man-made. Those with powers not deemed useful to society are sent to cold, heartless facilities where they are meant to be out of sight and out of mind, and often abandoned entirely by their parents and guardians for not bringing them the riches that they desired. Those who are deemed useful are sent to fight crime, or fight in wars on behalf of the United States, made to gruesomely kill, destroy, and lose their humanity. Soldier Boy was the greatest hero of his generation, but he got nothing but torture and suffering for his service when it was all said and done. The Deep's powers made it so he could hear the suffering of any sea creatures in captivity, making him feel empathy, compassion, and romance for beings that the rest of his fellow humans don't care for. He watches them die, be eaten, dissected, and witnesses their waters be polluted by human activity, and there's little he can do about it. Former heroes like Lamplighter relive horrible things they did in their minds over and over again. Even Homelander's many erratic and problematic behaviors can be traced back to him being raised isolated and without any love or compassion, simply raised to be Vought and the United States government's ultimate weapon. In the real world, many army veterans are abandoned and neglected by their governments, reduced to homelessness, PTSD, and disability. Sometimes all three. Those who successfully reintegrate into society still face a myriad of mental issues as a result of their service. Many of the world's poor go into the military or police service as a last resort to support themselves and or their families. They can enter these organizations in their teens and live regimented lives in environments emphasizing conformity, bravado, and calculated decision-making. And much like the Supes of the boys, they are taught to use their skills to kill, destroy, and maintain their ideal version of order. While these organizations can provide valuable life experience, money, and companionship for those who stay, it can often come at a heavy cost. I don't want this to come off as simply a army and police bad kind of take. I believe I can view security organizations with much more nuance than simple good and bad. These jobs are difficult, demanding, and require a lot of personal sacrifice, but they are not above criticism. Either way, I think another thing to take away from what I'm saying is that within the many brutal systems that hold up our status quo, the first victims of those systems are the foot soldiers they use to enforce those ideals. They are the first victims of the world's brutality, and from and through them, the plight spreads to the rest of us. The Supes of the boys and the security professionals of our world are often used more as commodities for power and control, and their needs are often just as unimportant to those in power as the common people. Thank you for watching.